concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. And why is my audio so hot? Is this normal? Maybe it is normal. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I'm happy to have you with me here on a Monday evening. We're going to talk some FPV. I'm going to take your questions. It's pretty clever. It's pretty clever. I got to say, it's pretty clever. To have the idea for a show where the audience basically writes the show for you. That's the beauty of the Q&A format, isn't it? Because you guys just ask questions and I answer the questions and talk about whatever I think about what you say. And then, you know, if you guys don't ask questions and I got nothing to talk about, that's not my fault. So, yeah. Kudos to whoever came up with the idea of having a radio call-in show. Of course, the difference is that on a radio call-in show, you probably would have like a producer having interesting clips. I would love to actually do a call-in show, like literally where people call in and I talk to them. Like with voice. Could you possibly do that without someone, you know, saying something offensive that gets you kicked off the air? Could you? Because here's the thing, and maybe you could tell me about this. I don't think that OBS has like a 7-second delay. You know, like a drop button where if somebody starts just shouting offensive things, then you could just be like, stop. Or if they show their stuff. I don't know. It would be really fun though, wouldn't it? Maybe with my Discord patrons, Mr. Eddie Nunes says. What do we do with my Discord patrons? Dump button. That's right. How is it that OBS doesn't have a dump button? Right? Hello? Oh, are you kidding me? Okay, hold on. Hold on a second. What's going on here? NVIDIA, can you help me out here, NVIDIA? What's going on, NVIDIA? Did you get all effed up? Oh, there we are. Hello, NVIDIA. How are you doing? And there we go. Honestly, NVIDIA, what's your problem? How is it that... Why? What? Why is that not... Oh, interesting. Oh, I do remember we're doing that. Okay, that's my fault. Sorry, that's my fault. What does OBS add dump button functionality to OBS? April 2018. Anyway. That's not why you're here, though. That's not why we're here. You're here to talk about FPV, and so am I. Isn't that nice? Wow, what are you doing here? What brings you here so late at night on a Monday? Well, you're into FPV. I don't know if you know this, but I'm also into FPV. Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. So, what kind of FPV do you like to do? Oh. You do long range. I'll see myself out. I'm not cool enough to hang with long range people. No, that's not how this night's going to go. What's actually going to happen is that you're going to ask questions, and I'm going to answer questions. Oh, Wesley Vardy is here. Wesley, it's early in the morning in Australia. What is it, 7, 8, 9 a.m. there? Shouldn't you be hungover? I'm sorry, that's racist. Brian Malin, good to see you, Captain Bry. What does that little battery inside my handset do if I have to reset the clock every time I take it apart? That little battery is for your real-time clock, right? I thought it was. I will say, I had a nice little moment. I went to Minefield, Ken Herron's Minefield event, and I said, I'm always trying to drag my son out to things, you know, because it's like a lot of times when I go to work stuff, I'm working all day, and it's not really something he would. But I remember my dad used to. This was in the 80s. He used to fix appliances, like if your washer, your dryer, your dishwasher, your refrigerator broke. He would come to your house and he would fix it, and he would bring me with him occasionally, and I'd get to ride along and sit there with him. I don't know why he did that. Maybe he liked me and wanted to share his life with me, or maybe he just couldn't get babysitting. I don't really know. But he brought me with him, and those are some cherished memories. And I thought, oh, you know, I can't exactly bring my son to work with me because, like, you know, I just go to the basement and I make videos. So I brought him with me to Minefield. And I assumed he would be bored the whole time. I promised him that we would, like, eat dinner in a restaurant and spend the night in a hotel and get to watch Disney Junior, which we don't have at the house. And that's, you know, so that was the draw. And when we get to Minefield, he was a total trooper. I said, do you want to just sit in the car and be on your phone while I go do my thing? And he's like, no, come hang out with you. And he walked around, and people were coming up and shaking hands and introducing themselves and saying nice things. And later he was like, oh, you're kind of a big deal. And I'm like, if you as a father don't secretly, like, want your son to think you're a big deal, surely you do, right? It's very gratifying. Very gratifying. So, there you go. I'm too young to have a son, Knock Squatch FPV. That is incorrect, sir. I am 47. I know, right? Doesn't make sense to me either. Okay. My son is 11. He's 11. Okay, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about FPV, and I'm here to take your questions. I'm going to be taking your questions here in the YouTube chat. What's a good 5-inch to run iNav on? The JBF7 flight controller can run iNav now. Woohoo! I'm going to be taking your questions here in the chat, of course. I'm going to be taking your questions from the Discord. These beautiful people are my patrons, and so I pay a special attention to them. And if you would like me to pay special attention to you, you can also hit this $sign down here and leave a super chat. Oh, I screwed something up. Hold on. I got to get this going. And then I got to pop this out. Okay, hang on. Is Avata better than other whoops like Cinelog 3.5? Asks Project Charlie. Thank you for a $2 super chat. Now I'm going to reload this window and see if it barfs. Did it lose it? It didn't. Okay, great. Project Charlie left me a super chat. If you want to leave a super chat, hit the $sign right down here. Leave a super chat. Throw a couple bucks at my face, and I will read your question before the end of the stream, although it sometimes takes me a minute to get to them. Let's answer this question from Project Charlie. We're going to break the trend. Normally, I take some free questions from the YouTube chat just to prove I'm a man of the people. Today, we're going to take a paid question from Project Charlie for $2 super chat. Is Avata better than other whoops like the Cinelog 3.5? That depends entirely on who you are as a pilot and what you want out of the quad. Here's the thing. When I went to Minefield, Ken Heron's event, I had an eye-opening experience. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute and let you guys fill in the blank. The eye-opening experience was that there were so many people there flying DJI drones, including like 3 or 4 people flying the DJI FPV drone. Now, that shouldn't surprise you or me because Ken Heron has a lot of DJI content. He is a perfectly competent FPV pilot, for the record. Ken can fly FPV. He's got his chops. But he has a huge audience of DJI pilots, and of course, they were there. And I think if you asked a lot of FPV pilots, what do you think of the DJI FPV drone? Is it better than a 5-inch mini quad? And they would go, oh, God, no. Oh, that is not the case for these guys, these people. They loved it. And so it depends on who you are and what you want. The DJI Avata is, like all DJI drones, an engineering masterpiece. It has flight time and performance that it is extremely difficult to duplicate, especially for the cost. 18 minutes flight time, something like that, 20 minutes flight time. The video system has range and penetration that is probably class leading. I can't think of anything else out there that beats it. The flight performance of the quad, and I don't mean the raw acro performance, because obviously that's not where it's designed to excel, but what I mean is the capabilities to do loiter in place, obstacle detection, return to home, all of that stuff. It is the best at whatever it is. It's the best at it. There's no question. And that's the thing about DJI. Whatever DJI decides to make, they're going to make the best of it. The question is only, do you want what they made? You see? So, is the Avata better than other whoops like Cinelog 3.5? If you're the kind of person who wants a DJI drone and something like a Cinewhoop, yeah, it's better. If you're a kind of person like me, you're probably going to be annoyed at how it flies. You're going to be annoyed at, you're not going to mind having to build it, and it's not for you. I will say, the one thing about the Avata that, like, I've watched a bunch of, I don't have it, I haven't flown it, but I've watched a bunch of reviews of it, and they weren't kidding when they said that the image looks like the DJI Action 2, which they meant as a compliment, but I don't see it that way. I don't think the Action 2 is a very good-looking camera. It is acceptable, but it has very poor dynamic range, and the exposure algorithm really struggles. And one of the things that I hate most about a camera is bad dynamic range and dark shadows. And so when I look at the footage that the Avata puts out, obviously people are going to be able to make it work, and it's going to be fine, but I don't like it. I think it it could be a lot better. But there are people who couldn't build a Cinewhoop, or they would buy a GEP-RC Cinelog 3.5 and not know how to bind it and be absolutely frustrated. There are people who just want a tool to do a job, and it is a fantastic tool to do a job, and it's going to expand the world of people flying Cinewhoops and doing cinematography and stuff. It's yeah. So that's my take. GoPro video quality is just better. Like, let's take a look at Paul Nurk's video. By the way, of all of the reviews of this, I thought my favorite, I think, was Paul Nurk's. Like, I saw a lot of other people review it. Oh My God reviewed it. Potato Jet reviewed it. Rotoride obviously reviewed it. I don't know. I guess Paul's video was like 45 minutes long, and I thought, oh, that's a guy who is right up my alley. I don't think it was quite that long. Let's see, where is his YouTube channel? There it is, putting DJI Avata to the test. Let's see if I can find what I'm talking about here. Yeah, only 27 minutes. I wish he'd put chapter breaks. Paul, you got to put chapter breaks, brother. So where's the scenes through the trees? Yeah, maybe this is the scene. So like, as you look at this, and I'm gonna guess that this is not graded, but this is straight out of the camera. Like, there's a lot of darkness here, for example. And I think if you had a GoPro, you would see more detail there, and you'd have more dynamic range. Right? That's my biggest complaint. It's a small complaint, and maybe it's not a deal breaker, but it is like something that stands out to me about this camera. Oh, this is a good looking camera here. Just got so much detail. Yeah, Paul knows a thing or two about cameras. So here we go. It's also, frankly, a little bit of a dull image, which probably could be fixed with a color grade. I'm going to guess that Paul didn't use a color grade here and just wanted to show the... I mean, that would be a little bit of cheating unless you said, now we're going to grade it. But, like, we just got a lot of darkness, not a lot of detail. And, like, I believe that a skilled color grader and photographer or video editor could get good results out of this, but I think you have to acknowledge that it's not as good as like a GoPro. So. Kevin Duffy has a good question. That's a good question, Kevin. I've been pondering this question myself, to tell you the truth. Kevin Duffy says, you talk about camera quality a lot, but I never see you fly Cinelifters. So actually, I should say I have a background in photography. I was never a professional photographer. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I did art photography when I was in college. It was digital. This was just after the digital cameras, digital SLRs started. I owned one of the first digital SLRs that I bought for myself as a graduation from college present. Hold on. Wait for it. For example, Here's some, let's see. So I did all the color grading. What is going on here? I did all the color grading and so forth on this. These are some of my old photographs that I did when I was doing art photography. You can't see that one. Let's see. We got this kind of a thing. I got a little effect on this. So like I have a little bit of a background in photography. This was actually shot on a slide. I was playing with slides. Let's see. Ooh, Kearney, Nebraska. Beautiful. Yada, yada, yada. Some are better than others. Ooh, I like that one a lot. So I have some background in that area. And that transfers over into, me trying to do video stuff. Thinking about composition and color grading and so forth. That picture was not Boston, Bobby Bags. I think it was Chicago. But I don't fly Cinelifters, even though I do think a lot about that stuff. And the big reason, Kevin Duffy, is that I don't think it makes sense to get invested in Cinelifters if you're not flying Cinelifters professionally. You might as well ask, why don't I have a $5,000 video camera? Well, I mean, you could argue that as a YouTuber, I might justify the purchase of a $5,000 video camera. But I don't, the cost to get into a Cinelifter, you're looking at, I'd say minimum $2,000, let's say, and realistically even more to get the aircraft. The camera is going to be like a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema or a Red Komodo at the minimum, and that's a $2,000 or $5,000. And then what am I going to do with it? I'm not going to be flying it on set because I just don't do that kind of work. I'm not interested in doing that kind of work. That sounds like work. So the real answer is that Cinelifters are a tool for a specific job. They're not fun to fly. They're less agile. They're more expensive. There's more at risk. It doesn't make any sense for me to buy a Cinelifter and then fly it around my house. And that's usually what I'm doing. So the other side of that is that the Cinelifter market is very small. So if I make content about Cinelifters, I will potentially be helping some of the people who are trying to build Cinelifters, but those people, there's a lot more people who need help building a 5-inch Freestyle quad than there are people who need help building a Cinelifter. And finally, the other side of it is that the guys who are building Cinelifters are usually experts already. So if I build a Cinelifter and I review it, it'd be kind of like if I bought a race car and tried to review it, but I don't actually take it on the track. I just drive it to the grocery store. Like, you can't really judge one of those until you are on set trying to get shots for a director, I couldn't possibly review a Cinelifter unless I was using it as a professional on set. My opinion wouldn't really carry weight. So those are all the reasons that I don't go that direction. It's an interesting direction to go. But, yeah. Hey, Phantom FPV, good to see you, man. Yeah, it sounds like work. I got to show up at like 4 a.m. on set. Some director yelling at me, telling me what to do. I mean, there are things in life that are worth showing up at 4 a.m. and having somebody yell at you to do. I don't know if shooting a shot for a motion picture or a commercial is where my dreams lie. So, yeah. Like I would rather be learning a new freestyle trick than trying to find some epic shot to get with my Cinelifter. That's just where my heart's at. I would rather be, that's why guys like Phantom FPV give me hope. I saw Phantom in the chat, so now I'm going to just suck up to him a little bit. You look at that guy's channel. What is it? It's just freestyle trick after freestyle trick. That guy's keeping freestyle alive, among others. All the freestyle pilots, they go off and they become professional YouTubers, and they make vlogs, and they make content, and they go off and they shoot commercials, and they shoot motion pictures. Phantom FPV is just out there freaking shooting gaps and tearing up schools, and yeah, keeping it. Yeah, it's old school. Keeping it old school. Yeah. Anyway. Good question. I do go back and forth though. Because like there's a risk. There's a risk that if you only do the thing, there's a risk that you get sort of myopic and you get out of touch with where the world's at. And then you're just, you know, that boomer who only plays like old blues licks, and, you know, and the world has moved on, and they're making new kinds of music and new genres, and he's sort of out of touch. And, like, I just love freestyle. I love 5-inch freestyle. I like racing. But that's just what I like to do. That's what I wanted to do when I first got started. That's still what I like to do. And there's all these people out there, and they're doing tiny whoops and Cinewhoops and Cinelifters. And I'm like, I don't care on some level. And then I'm like, do what you love. You stick to what you love. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll stick to what I love while the rest of the world moves on. Where does that leave me? I don't know. It's a tough one. All right, let's move on. Let's see here. J3134 says, I finally got the DJI goggles V2. Does Runcam not have a 120 FPS option? I ordered a Caddx Nebula Pro. Jay, I cannot tell you anything firm, but I can tell you that today, as of today, Runcam doesn't have a 120 FPS camera. Today. And that's kind of a big deal since Caddx has been cut off by DJI. And once Caddx sells all their air units, Caddx says they'll still make cameras, and maybe they still will. But it certainly is a big deal that Runcam doesn't have a 120 FPS camera today. Was that blatant enough? Eric Evans asks, do you 3D print at home? What printer do you run? So Eric Evans, I do 3D print at home. I will say, my 3D printer that is my workhorse that I go to the most is the Sovol SV01. The Sovol SV01 printed TPU. TPU is the flex filament that's usually used to make mini quad accessories. Printed TPU for me just fine out of the box. I have a good profile for it. It has been rock solid. I have had to replace the PTFE tube in the hot end one time, and it was after printing like it was after like 25 or 30 hours of printing. I just printed a bunch of these big multi-GP gate hinges, and so the SV01 is solid for me. If I have an Ender 2. If you decide to get a printer, the Ender 2 is a solid choice. The Ender 2 can print flex filament, even though it's a Bowden tube design instead of a direct drive design. Some people will tell you, oh, no, you don't want that. The thing about the Ender 2, or the Ender 3? I'm sorry, that's my bad. I don't know why I said Ender 2. I blame COVID. Yeah, right? Anytime I have a brain fart, I just blame COVID, right? The Ender 3, I apologize. The Ender 3, it's solid. The thing about the Ender 3 is that it is so cheap and so popular that you can almost always find somebody who can help you with it if you have problems. Whereas a less mainstream printer like the Sovol is a good printer, and there's a lot of resources out there, but not as many as with the Ender 3. So the Ender 3 will print TPU. You'll just have to go a little slower. And the thing is that if you just search for Ender 3 Pro TPU Cura Slicer profile, somewhere out there, someone's got a perfect Ender 3 profile that'll do a good job for you. Okay? So that's easy to recommend. I also have a Prusa Mini. I bought a Prusa Mini. I haven't made a video about it yet. I probably will make one eventually. I bought a Prusa Mini because I had to know. I wanted to know. The promise of the Prusa printers is that you buy the Prusa printer and you use Prusa Slicer and you use Prusa filament and then you just frickin' print. And you don't have to do all this BS. And I have to say that as long as I'm printing anything except TPU, it pretty much lives up to that. But at least I did not get good results. I should probably try a new spool of TPU before I say finally. That's why I haven't made the video yet. I didn't get great the thing is, I could print TPU with my Sovol, this exact same roll of filament. Maybe it's got moisture in it or something, I don't know. But the Sovol printed it fine. I put it in the Prusa. I went to Prusa Slicer. I selected TPU as the material. I selected their default profile and I printed, and it didn't give me great results. Which is fine, because any 3D printer you expect to have to tune to get good results, but the whole reason you might pay $500 for the Prusa Mini instead of $250 for an Ender is that it's going to give you better results. And at least for flex filament, I didn't find that to be true. So, yeah. Interestingly, my Ender 3, I upgraded it. I put a BL Touch on it. That went well. I put a dual Z rail on it because I was tired of the Z-axis sagging. That went well. I upgraded the hot end to a frickin' Hemera hot end, an extruder. And it doesn't print any better than it did before. And that makes me sad. Because that thing, like $110 for the Hemera hot end. Like half the price of the printer itself. And I thought, now I will really be able to print TPU. This thing's going to be a monster. Prints okay. Not great. So... don't know. I wonder if the Hemera is actually not all it's cracked up to be. I wonder if the Hemera is actually a little bit of a hype. And I've heard other people say the Hemera is very, very finicky. So. Now, Hero Psycho in my Discord. What printer did he just get? That frickin' the DJI guys made. The one the DJI guys made. What is that? What is it called? Brundlefly, the affiliate link can be bookmarked. Yes, sir. And I also love your username. Yeah, hold on. It's the Bambu Lab X1. So, Hero Psycho, a guy in my Discord, got this Bambu Lab printer, and holy shit. Holy shit. Oh, hang on. He's been showing prints, and literally, he's like, I just loaded the STL and hit print. He showed me a... How fast was the benchy he showed me? Was it like a 20-minute benchy? That's ridiculously fast. He's been just showing these prints that are insane with like no tuning whatsoever. And this damn printer is expensive as hell. But at least this one guy on my Discord seems to say that it is 1,000% living up to its promise. If you're looking for a 3D printer that let's see what he's got. I'm sure there's some stuff he showed here on the 3D printing page of my Discord server. How far back do I have to go to find him talking about the damn thing? Oh no, people have been talking too much. Stop talking too much. I'm trying to find things. All right, well, I don't know how long we want to sit here and scroll to see this discussion. Oh, we're almost there. Yeah, so here, hang on. It's deeply upsetting considering all the BS I went through just to print TPU, much less multi-material. This thing is gosh darn effortless. He's raving about this Bambu Lab printer. So he got it for like $700 as part of the Kickstarter. It's like $1,300 now. And I don't know. That's a lot of money. Where's more of Hero Psycho's prints? All these people talking about things that I'm not looking for this exact moment are really frustrating. I'm going to find out he's sponsored by Bambu Lab. If only there were a way I could like just search for only his messages. Ha ha ha! Man scrolls through Discord channel on live stream. 600 people waiting. All right, well, forget about it. Oh, there it is. What is that? Nope, that's a different person. All right, that's enough. So the Bambu Lab thing, apparently it's not just hype. Okay, let's move on. That's my 3D printing spiel for the day. I know, search Bardwell FPV. Ojas Prabune, probably said that wrong. How should I start flying freestyle? I suggest you get a controller and you start practicing in the simulator for a few weeks, probably. That's how I would say you should start. That's my honest answer. I mean, here's the thing. $1,300 for a 3D printer, for a consumer grade 3D printer, is a lot of money. You're starting to approach pro grade levels at $1,300. I don't think you're quite there yet. I think like a true pro grade 3D printer, you're looking at the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 range, or up, obviously. So $1,300 is at the top end of what I would consider to be consumer grade. But the results that I've seen this printer produce are extraordinary, and it seems to come the closest of anything I've seen to just click and print. And for some people, that's going to be worth it. It's just a question of how much your time is worth. Let's see here. Jeremy Sarge wants to know, what is the benefit of switching from Crossfire to ExpressLRS? I'm going to try to keep this as objective as possible, Jeremy. The ExpressLRS is lower latency. ExpressLRS can go up to 1,000 hertz. Crossfire only does 150 hertz. And I think Crossfire latency, what's the fastest Crossfire latency? The thing is that Crossfire 150 hertz is not going to get you very far because it's not even using LoRa. It's using FSK, I believe. So all the things that you like about Crossfire, the long range and penetration, that stuff is all down at 50 hertz. You're going to get much lower latency with ExpressLRS. Now, does that matter to you? Do you care about being down at 3-4 milliseconds latency instead of being at 16, 20, whatever milliseconds latency for Crossfire? Maybe you don't care, but it's going to be lower latency. ExpressLRS uses 2.4 gigahertz, which means you have smaller antennas. You have a little bit of a reduction in range, but the range is acceptable to a lot of people. especially with the higher output power. Crossfire will go further, though, if you really need the most possible range. And then the main thing about ExpressLRS is just that it's a fun, fast-moving open source project that is constantly doing cool shit. So, that's it. The downside of ExpressLRS, now you only asked about the advantages, but I gotta tell you that the downside of ExpressLRS is this. Think about buying a Betaflight flight controller. You know how some Betaflight flight controllers are total garbage and other Betaflight flight controllers are like really solid? And if you don't know which is which, you're going to buy a garbage Betaflight flight controller. It's going to die on you on day one, and you're going to be like, this sucks. Well, that's what ExpressLRS hardware is like. Some of it's garbage, some of it's good, and you can't just buy it. With Crossfire, you know that Trappy personally kissed every single module before it went out the door. Go into the world. Do not failsafe, my son. Right? And you don't get that with ExpressLRS. So you got to be okay with that. You got to understand that. So let's get some of these super chats. We got a few more super chats that have come in. I certainly don't want to ignore the people who are paying me money. How do you feel about using JST 1.25 motor plugs on 2S 1103 7000 kV toothpick? Can I splice the motor wire to add a plug at the end of the wire? Asks I am Gross 98. Thank you for a $5 super chat. That's a tough one. Here's what I'm going to do. Let's look for... I would say if the motor didn't come with a plug, you probably shouldn't add a plug. Are there any 1103 7000 kV motors that come with plugs on them? Oh. Okay. Happy Model sells it for the Larva X. They think it's okay. All right. So if I couldn't find anybody who was putting a plug on this motor, Eachine, I would say it's not a good idea. I can find some people who are putting pH plugs on these motors. So it's probably not like the worst idea in the world. However, a direct solder connection will always give you better performance. I have seen many cases where somebody flying like an Eachine or an Emax Tiny Hawk or something with plug-in motors, or even a Tiny Whoop, like a 65 or 75 millimeter Tiny Whoop. I think the Tiny Hawk has plug-in motors. I think one of them does. I'm not sure about that. I've seen cases where they'll start to get bad performance, and it turns out the plugs have worn out, and they have a bad connection. So soldering will be better, but it's okay on a plug is my official verdict. Quad City Bay Area, thank you for a $5 super chat. HDZero weekend event, I wasn't impressed. The goggles look awesome, but the same video quality like the VRX. Yeah, no, of course. Sorry, Quad City Bay Area. I said that in a way that makes it sound like I think you're like, yeah, of course, you idiot. I'm sorry. I apologize. I take that, but let me try it again. I didn't expect the HDZero goggles to radically improve the performance or the image quality of the system. The receiver is doing... I think that the current HDZero receiver is pretty much optimally engineered, and I don't think there's like some magic margin to just make it 50% better. Like, I think they've already done close to as good a job as they can reasonably do. So when you take that and you stick it in a goggles, the performance in there is going to be the same. So that doesn't surprise me. HDZero, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. FPV Forever, thank you for a $5 super chat. Could I use the Boy Scouts to get my property labeled as a FRIA? I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. There is currently no mechanism for defining a FRIA. There are ways that we think it's going to work, but we don't know. So we know that you'll need a community-based organization or CBO. Could the Boy Scouts decide to become a CBO? Maybe. They need to be a 501c3. Are the Boy Scouts a 501c3? I would bet that they are. I don't know. They would need to reach out to the FAA and get certified as a CBO. Maybe they could decide to do that, although that would be a big step. Once they were defined as a CBO, then they could submit application to designate areas as a FRIA. So the first thing you would need to do, FPV Forever, is convince the Boy Scouts that they want to go to the FAA and apply to be a CBO. And then and if they don't want to do that, then you're out of luck. Nate Harms, FPV, thank you for a $5 Canadian super chat. I had a random failsafe on my 3-inch 3S where the Vista appeared to reboot. Upon restart, I have no OSD. The wires are good. Any ideas? Nate Harms, there are 2 diodes on the Vista on the TX and the RX line. When those diodes fail, the OSD goes away. It sounds like your diodes have failed. You can test this by getting a multimeter. You put it in continuity mode, and you try to measure, not continuity mode, I apologize. You put it into ohms mode, and you measure resistance between the ground pad and the TX pad. And I don't remember, you got to do it both ways. Because if the diode is working, if the diode's working, you won't get continuity either direction. And if the diode's blown, will you get continuity in both directions? I'm not sure about that. But if you have a low resistance path from ground to TX or from ground to RX, it means your diode is blown. It is possible to repair the diodes. There are videos online. If you look up Vista diode repair, basically you open the Vista up and you remove the diode, or you buy a new diode and you solder it back on and replace it. But that's probably what happened. Big Data Pimp is right. CBOs don't currently exist. Community-based organizations. The FAA has said that a CBO will be a thing. The FAA has not defined a process for recognizing an organization as a CBO. We assume that the AMA, if anybody's going to be a CBO, it's going to be the AMA, the Academy of Model Aeronautics. What about the FPV Freedom Coalition? We don't know. And so all of these hypotheticals are just up in the air until the FAA defines a procedure for becoming a CBO. C. Victoria, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's a good beater drone for a complete freestyle noob? The simulator. Get a controller, practice in the simulator. That's the best beater drone. If you insist on actually flying a real drone, I would steer you towards something like the GepRC Smart 3.5. This is a pretty decent little beater drone. I like it a lot. I have really enjoyed flying mine. I did eventually fry a motor. Is this only... This is only DJI. Is it not available in analog? Surely it's available in analog. Surely it's available in analog. I'm sure it must. There we go. Smart 3.5 analog. So that's what I would say. It's big enough that you get some of the flight characteristics of a larger quad, but still small enough that it's fairly durable and crashes fairly well. And I mean, that's not the only one in the world that might be good, but that's one that comes to my mind that I've had good results with. Anthony, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's your recommended setup for FPV monitors for digital or analog? There aren't very many good FPV monitors. So, I'll show you. This is my digital setup. This is a Lilliput field monitor. And it's got a tray on the back. I think I ordered this tray separately for this battery. This is a... the hell is this kind of battery? A Sony F980, NP F980 battery. This is a really standard battery in motion, in videography and stuff. So like all kinds of accessories will take this battery. And this is what I use. Now you asked like what's a good one? What do you use? This is not going to be the cheapest, I don't think. But this is a great for digital. It's got HDMI input on the side. It's got HDMI pass-through. I originally got this for use with one of my cameras, but it works fantastic for HDZero, DJI, or not DJI, because DJI doesn't do it. DJI needs a smart controller. It works fantastic though. That's it. Now, hang on. Lilliput A7S Full HD Field Monitor. $160 for the monitor. And then the battery is, what is it? Sony NP F980. 980. So you get these batteries like this. It's $50 for 2 of them. Oh, these have a built-in display. That's clever. Mine doesn't have that. They got a USB output if you want to charge, use it as a battery pack. It's pretty cute. And I think you also need a tray for the Lilliput monitor. There's an adapter you have to get. Crap. Where's the frickin' adapter? There it is. Lilliput F970 battery. Yeah, see, last purchase September 2021. So you need this. I used a little bit of glue, a little bit of E6000 adhesive to glue this on so it didn't slide off. And this is fantastic for HDZero. It's not any good for analog. It doesn't have analog input. For analog, I have no idea. Like, you probably don't want a monitor with a built-in receiver. You probably want to plug it into an AV out. But I would probably just search for, like 7-inch field monitor AV input. 800 by 480 resolution, TFT, AV input, and I would look for something, Field World monitor, no. See, the problem is that the monitors with AV input are not going to have great specs. They're going to be like, you want something with minimum like 500 nits for outdoor use. Maybe 250 nits would be acceptable. This thing doesn't even have the nits rating. That's got HD input and AV input. That's interesting. You could do it all. Anyway, those are some thoughts. I don't know if I fully answered your question, but those are some thoughts. Edward Kelly, thank you for a $5 super chat. Thoughts around package delivery, Project Wing, and the future of drone or VTOL crafts. Are we around the corner or is it distant? That's tough to say. Because package delivery, drone delivery has sort of been just on the verge of happening for a long time now. And then these companies that are supposed to be doing it, then they drop out. And then you find out, oh, wait, there's one city where they're doing it. I can't decide whether it's just about to happen or whether it keeps on sort of stumbling and petering out. So I don't know. I don't know. Duck My Squeeze says 250 nits is not enough for use in the sun. You would want to like have minimum 500 nits and even better 1,000 nits. Yeah. It's just for spectating though, so that's, you know. I bet you could get away with 500 nits. I wonder what the frickin' output of this monitor is, this one that I'm touting. The Lilliput A7S. Does it have a nits? 500 nits. See, there you go. So I've used this outdoors as a camera monitor and it was acceptable. 500 nits brightness. That's a good place to be. Ethan W. I doubt that I'm going to buy the DJI Avata. I doubt it. Azan FPV and RC, thank you for a 20 New Zealand dollar super chat. I have the DJI drone. I've only ever done 2 updates on the goggles, so my firmware is before DJI tried locking it out. Is it worth me doing the latest update? Azan, if you fly the DJI FPV drone, I thought that the app forced you to do the update. Are you sure that you have you don't have the 015 firmware? I thought that the app forced you to do it in order to fly the drone. If you haven't done the 015 update, I think you have to do the 015 update in order to fly the drone. Am I wrong about that? Blunty, you're around. Are you around? I think Blunty's in the... He knows the answer. I think he is in the Discord at this exact moment. I thought it forced you to do it. R. Noland, Race Day Quads lost the lawsuit. Man Hawk, I did not get around to using the soldering goop from Mass Adhesive. I have not used it. I have nothing to say about it at this time. Quad City Bay Area, thank you for a $5 super chat. HDZero weekend event, I wasn't impressed. The goggle was, did he leave this twice? Yes, he left it twice. I hope he heard me read it the last time. Thank you for the donation, Quad City Bay Area. Bones Backyard FPV, thank you for 420 Australian. Can LED race wire cause motor desyncs? No. I mean, if you soldered it badly, maybe, but no. Not really. It's just wire. I was surprised to see Blunty in the chat earlier because Blunty Blunty is the one who does the live stream clips channel, so he has to watch the whole live stream again while coming up with timestamps for the clips. And so he usually doesn't watch the live streams live because he doesn't want to watch them twice. So I thought I saw him earlier, but I think he's gone now. Rain Motorsports, thank you for a $5 super chat. Thanks for everything you do. Just picked up a TX12 Mark II EV800D Diatone LR4 practicing at your house and lift off right now. Welcome to the hobby, Rain Motorsports. Ride that glorious high as long as it lasts, because eventually you're going to be tearing your hair out just like the rest of us. Juka Boys, thank you for being a patron and asking a question in the Discord. Do I really need to sand the frame edges before assembling? If you don't file the frame edges or sand them, you can cut your battery straps a lot faster. If you kind of knock the edge off there, it can help with the battery strap getting cut or your wires getting cut. You don't absolutely have to. I often don't do it, and I also often break battery straps because of it, and that's my curse. Hey, there's Blunty. Blunty, this guy says he has the, I didn't mean for people to @message him. Sorry, Blunty. This guy says he has the DJI drone, and he hasn't done updates on it. And I'm not sure how he's flying the damn thing without, I guess he... I know, I was just saying that. I was just saying he doesn't watch during this. I just said that. Uh-huh. I wasn't sure how this guy could be flying the DJI FPV drone and not have been forced into the update. I guess maybe he's just not using the app. Aza FPV and RC, have you just not hooked it up to the app? I would say if you can avoid doing the 015 update, don't do it. But if you connect to the app at all, then you're forced to update. Yeah, that's what people are saying. 3Cap, thank you for a $5 super chat. I have a slight twitch in my quad. It happens within the first minute of flight and then seems to clear up. Nothing is touching the gyro. Well, sometimes you get a little bit of gyro noise when the battery is full and then it settles down. If it just like is a slight twitch that just happens in the first minute of flight, maybe I just wouldn't worry about it. Check your capacitor. I've seen that before. When the battery is charged up, then there's a little bit of extra noise that gets the gyro and it twitches, but then it settles down. ZLBO7, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm mid-build and I have a little space between my F55A and 1-watt Freestyle VTX. Can I use wire and place the cap elsewhere? Yes. You should use the largest gauge wire that fits in the situation, like 20 or gauge or 18 gauge is a good choice, and keep the wire as short as possible. Mm-hmm. As a FPV and RC, if you do the 015 firmware update, it will lock out the margarine root hack and the NFZ hack. So if you want to do those things, don't update to 015. Edward Kelly, thank you for a $5 super chat. If you were stuck on an island and had a choice of 3 quads, what would they be and what would they do? I would take 3 5-inch freestyle drones so that when I crashed one, I would have a spare. I mean, you were thinking, oh, a 7-inch to cruise the mountains, a 5-inch and a tiny whoop. Nope. 3 5-inch freestyle quads. Maybe one racing drone. Maybe like a 1 switchback to race with. Storm Maestro, thank you for a $20 super chat. I don't see any message, Storm Maestro, so if you meant to leave one, tag me in a message with an at reply. Folks, we're about an hour into the stream, and that means it's time for a message from our sponsor. Hold on a second here. Let me just... Oh, hi there. Joshua, I'm sponsored Joshua. Joshua's left-handed. I'm right-handed, see? Did you guys know that Joshua has a website? FPVknowitall.com. Home of the ultimate FPV shopping list where you can find suggested parts in many different categories. Like, what if we look at 4-inch freestyle? It suggested frames, motors, etc. That's a great website, fpvknowitall.com. Whenever you're wondering, what video transmitter would Joshua wear? What goggles? What are the best goggles under $300? Those are all things that are answered on this website. Did you guys know that searchfpv.com, we got a couple sponsors here. They're all me. Searchfpv.com is a FPV product search engine that searches multiple stores, including the ability to search in-stock items only. Let's just search for Bardwell and see what we get. Get something like this in Europe, says Robin Visser. Robin, we're happy to include anybody who will include us in their affiliate program. We would love to have a ton of European stores. We started with the American stores that we're most familiar with, of course. We would love to have European stores. So here we go. We got some other products there. In stock. And lastly, I can't leave it this way. Oh, thank God, that's so much better. Lastly, did you know that for as little as $2 a month, you can help a poor Bardwell continue to pay the bills? For less than the price of a bag of props a month, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com. There's a link in the video description, and you can support me and make it possible for me to keep doing this valuable service to the community. In the arms of an angel. Sad puppy eyes. There's a link in the video description. A lot of you are already patrons and you know the benefits of being a patron, like getting to be on my Discord server. Or getting podcasts of my live streams on the Patreon page, or just getting to know that you have, just to be showed your thanks for all the content that I make. And if this was like an NPR live stream, I would pull up my Patreon page and say, we are staying on break until we get 4 more patrons. Oh, I see why they do that now. You guys want the content. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I was always annoyed at NPR pledge drives, and now I understand why they do it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to go on with the live stream. Thank you guys so much for tolerating my ad break. I was about to join just to stop you from singing. In the arms of an angel. Maybe Sarah McLachlan isn't really my thing. Maybe more Chris Cornell. Especially having been sick. I feel like I've got that 90s grunge voice. Come as you are. I'm sorry, Kurt. As a friend. I'm sorry, Kurt. That wasn't a good Kurt Cobain impression. Maybe Weezer. If you want to destroy my sweater. Yep, that's it. Weezer. That's it. Apparently it's Weezer. Okay, continue with the stream. Continue with the stream. No more singing. It was okay. It was okay when it was Sarah McLachlan, but you do it to Kurt Cobain, and now people are mad. Ask a question. Somebody ask a question. We need a question. Ethan W. asks, do you think that the new Avata and the leaked O3 Air unit share the same camera and the same specs? I think that they do. That's not based on any inside information. That's just what I think. F. Reddy says, hey, Joshua Bardwell, on yesterday's Q&A, you said you get approached to build a premium flight controller, but would rather build your JBF7V2 to be cost-friendly. What would you choose differently on a premium offering? F. Reddy, to tell you the truth, the main way that a premium flight... I mean, a lot of flight controllers pretty much have the same features, right? And so, like, I could have saved money on my flight controller by not having an SD card slot. But that wasn't enough. I was like, no, shut up. We're doing an SD card slot. So the main difference is the manufacturing quality. The quality of the components you put into it and the manufacturing quality. I'm not sure I mean, these days, $80-ish is the price for sort of a standard flight controller. Some have some features that others don't, but 80 is sort of where it's at. You could say, well, what about the really cheap ones? Like, you could go with an F4 processor, right? You could go with a smaller voltage regulator. I guess I'm not sure what a super premium flight controller would be, because it would be the same flight controller. It would just be made to an even higher standard and be more expensive. I mean, that flight controller has... Like, I can't think of anything on it that is, like, super top premium. But, like, if I think about it, it's got beefy voltage regulators, 2.5 amps or higher. It's got a real pit switch. It's got all these features. And I kept trying to think of what we left off. So... Maybe it is a premium flight controller. I don't know. I guess my point was in saying that the $80 price is not because, like, we put freaking gold leaf on it. That the $80 price, that flight controller has the same profit margin, more or less, that it did 2 years ago when it was a $55 flight controller. Our cost went up that much. And so when our cost goes up, I say our, I mean race day quads. I just talk about it. I'm not really involved in the business side. But they came to me and they said, look, the next batch of the flight controllers, the cost is going to go up by this much, and that means we have to make the price $80. And they were like, we can just cancel the flight controller and not make any more, or it's going to be $80. We can't sell them we can't manufacture them for $55. We can't sell them for $55. And so I guess that's just what I wanted to get across. That $80 is just where a half decent flight controller is these days, an F7. Anyway. Smashing Pumpkins. Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. That's not bad. That sounded a little bit like Billy Corrigan. Do you think the price will go down soon? Doubt it. I doubt it. Is it possible to resource remap the DMA to different pins for motor outputs? I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. You can remap motor outputs to different pins. What's a good battery for a 700 plus gram drone? Asks Rayoni Barrios. I got a Titan XL5 HD. The Titan is heavy, and it's got 5-inch props. So, I mean, one way to think about it is that you want the smallest battery you can get away with to try and help you with the weight. Another way to think about it is you need a bigger battery because you're going to have a lot of sag and a lot of voltage draw. I would probably start with an 1100 milliamp hour to a 1300 milliamp hour 6S and just accept that the weight is going to be there. Is an H743 and an F722 the same price? Not really sure about that. I don't know the cost on those. I don't think they're the same price. Let's get a couple more super chats now that we've done some more regular comments. Storm Maestro, thank you again for a $20 super chat. Andre Lamb, thank you for 15 NT dollars. What's an NT dollar? I don't know if I've ever seen those before. New Taiwan dollar. Thank you for 15 NT dollars, 2 Taiwan dollars, Andre Lamb. Pat V, thank you for $5. Is there any interference between ExpressLRS and GPS drones? Do they run in the same 2.8 gigahertz? No, ExpressLRS runs in 2.4 gigahertz. So I don't think that there should be interference between them. Of course, you can't be sure, but there's always potential for interference, but I don't think there's a known issue. AB Buffin, thank you for £2. 2 a.m. for me. I love these streams. I fly whoops only. Thank you, AB Buffin, for chiming in. Anthony Short, good to see you there, sir. Thank you for a $10 super chat. It says, thanks for the SD card slot. So many boards have dropped it. Damn right. SD card, baby. SD card. Andre Lamb, I got your message right here. No question, just want to thank you for your help. The first time through your live stream and email. I'm Indonesia and currently living in Taiwan for work. Keep up the good job, man. JB is avoiding talking about Kiss Ultra. Now, see if you can figure out why. Who paid me to not talk about Kiss Ultra? Who pissed me off that made me want to not talk about it? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? Why won't he talk about Kiss Ultra? The world may never know. Newt McFly wants to know, what's your favorite antenna for the Vista? UFL SMA or straight UFL? I go back and forth, Newt. I go back and forth. SMA is easy to mount and easier to work with, like on a day-to-day basis. It's easy to change the antenna. Straight SMA, straight UFL, it requires a 3D printed mount specific for the antenna. So usually with the Vista, I just use the factory antenna with a 3D printed mount rather than change out the UFL. That's what I would say. Kiss Ultra is fine. Kiss Ultra is fine. I'm not worthy of Kiss Ultra. That's why I won't talk about it. It's too good for me. Everybody flies Kiss Ultra and they like, this is the best thing I've ever flown. And I flew Kiss Ultra and I was like, it's okay. It's fine. Yeah, it seems pretty good. And that's how I knew that I was unworthy. Because obviously, it's me. It's got to be me. Yeah. To be fair, I also flew FetTech G4 and had a similar experience. Like, it's okay. Got some cool features. And it's me. It's me. It's absolutely me. It's like you got these high-end wine connoisseurs and they're all sipping wine. And they're talking about how good it is and the flavor notes, right? And then they give it to, they're like, here, you want to try something? I'm like, yeah, that's good. And they're like, that's the Frangia box wine, you dork. I'm like, oh, where's the good stuff? They give me the good stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's good too. And so, yeah, I've just decided. I just don't appreciate fine things in life. I'm just a heathen. And that's why, when I think about, should I make more content about that? I'm just going to piss off everybody else who truly appreciates how fine it is by not being as impressed as they are. Brandon Beans, good question. If you have an ExpressLRS receiver that's a buddy's and it's flashed with a binding phrase, can you do the traditional bind without a reflash to the RX? Not on ExpressLRS 2.0. The bind button doesn't work when you have a binding phrase flashed to it. However, ExpressLRS 3.0 has several ways that they've dealt with this. One thing is, in ExpressLRS 3.0, you can hold the bind button down for 9 seconds, and it resets the receiver completely, wipes the bind phrase out. At that point, you could do a normal bind button bind. 2, in ExpressLRS 3.0, you can go into the web interface and type a new bind phrase without reflashing the receiver. And 3, in ExpressLRS 3.0, in the Lua script, there is a lone quad option where you go into your Lua script and you hit lone quad, and that sort of temporarily resets your receiver. Your buddy can then bind the quad and use it, and when he's done, he goes to his Lua script and he hits return quad, and it returns to your bind. But in ExpressLRS 2.0, I don't think there's a way to do what you're wanting without reflashing it. Nightmare FPV, what are you trying to do with your motors, man? You have more than one motor output. What are you trying to do, Nightmare? Thank you, Ghost Branch. I really appreciate that. That's good. That's a Photoshop professional right there. Ghost Branch FPV, Photoshop professional. 3.0 is only an RC, not official. Hey, we're doing pretty good with the coughing today, aren't we, folks? Not a lot of coughing today. A little bit of coughing. I think I'm on the mend. Huh? I'm on the mend. JB dies tomorrow. If there's one thing I've learned about having got COVID, and I'm going to be real careful about this because I definitely will be annoyed if the whole chat descends into a bunch of COVID bullshit. I'm going to do a little riff here, okay? I'm going to riff a little bit. This is not an invitation for the chat to turn into a stupid COVID roundhouse. If there's one thing I've learned about having COVID, it's that as soon as you go on the internet and say, I'm feeling much better, this was a bunch of bullshit, you immediately will die next week. So I'm going to just keep it to myself. But I'm feeling a little better. Isn't that how it works? This ain't shit. I've had flus that were worse than this. COVID. Ha! What a joke. Next week, on respirator, dead. That's how it goes. So I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to lay into. I'm feeling a little better. Oh, it's going to be really funny if I actually do die. You got to play this clip at my funeral. Seriously. At least he died doing what he loved. Laying in bed. Struggling for air. They say at least he died doing what he loved. Do you know what I love doing? Breathing. Having my heart beating. Oh, nobody dies doing that, do they? Okay. All right. Moving on. I always wanted to be I keep thinking in a different life I would have been a comedian. I have these ideas for bits that I never develop into full bits because I'm not a comedian. Anyway. Let's continue. Yeah, Abra the Ham says, here's the part where the people I used to like come out of the woodwork and make me not like them anymore. This is the number one reason why I prefer to keep politics out of my FPV. Because as soon as you reveal to me something about yourself that I think is objectionable, now it's hard for us to be friends and talk about FPV. And so I prefer that you just keep it to yourself. And I'm going to keep, you know, we're just going to talk about FPV. Hopefully nobody did that, Aber. Pacific Northwest Pilots wants to know if I am using the DJI WTF OS hack to get MSP DisplayPort and 30 megabit per second on the DJI drones. I am. I have a video about it that the WTF OS guys have asked me to hold because there are still a couple bugs and they don't want me to do a release video and send a bunch of people their way, and then the people experience bugs and they make a bunch of bug reports. So they have asked me to wait till they fix the last couple bugs before I release my video, but I am using it. It's pretty gosh darn cool, and I can't wait to show it to you. Yeah. Tim B., I understand that there's some people who don't have a sense of humor about this because of personal experiences they've had. I certainly don't mean in any way to make light of your personal experience or the stuff you've been through. At the same time, I reserve the right to make light of my experience and my own sort of human frailty and weirdness and neuroses. And sometimes those two things are going to bump into each other in a way that doesn't work. I hope you know that it isn't personal, and I have a lot of compassion for your experience. And I don't in any way mean to make light of that. Let's see. What's the best material I can laser cut for a frame? Asks Alexander Ahorn. Carbon fiber? It's carbon fiber. It's carbon fiber. MDF? No. There isn't another material that makes sense for a mini quad frame that isn't carbon fiber. If you don't have a machine that can cut carbon fiber, you aren't really in the business of making frames. In my humble opinion, I guess not that humble. If you're going to cut, you can't build a frame out of MDF. It's going to explode the minute you crash it. You cut a frame out of, G4, whatever G4 is, whatever material that is. Is that fiberglass? What is G4? Some people make frames out of G4. It is definitively worse in every way than carbon fiber. The problem is that if you cut a frame out of anything except carbon fiber, all of the work you're putting into that frame is sort of wasted because you're going to design the best G4 frame that you could possibly design. It's going to be worse than if you had designed it out of carbon fiber. So, G10, not G4. What's FetTech G4? I've got the FetTech G4 on my mind. G10 is the stuff. I apologize. Thank you guys for straightening me out. Yeah. So. A G4, G10, yeah, same thing. It's not. Terry SS asks, I'm on a budget. I want to make relaxing flight videos with piano music. What's the recommended minimum for a complete bind and fly long range setup, an alternative to a DJI Air 2S and a GoPro? Price wise? The first thing I want to tell you, Terry S, is that if you seriously intend to do medium to long range stuff, then that absolutely should not be your first like real quad, your first acro quad. If you've only ever flown DJI stuff in your life, you have no idea what you're in for. And I don't want to make too many assumptions about who you are and where you're coming from. But a lot of people, there's this path, if you will. They start with DJI. They think DJI is pretty cool. They see some of the stuff that guys like Gab 707 do, mountain surfing, and they're like, that sounds cool. I don't feel like I can do that with DJI. I want to reel like a 7-inch cruiser. And then they think they can transition straight into that. It is a completely different world in how the drone flies and you know, how you think about getting home and not fail-safing and yada, yada, yada. So don't go straight from a DJI drone to a 7-inch cruiser. You have to sort of figure out how FPV works. It's completely different than DJI. And figure out how to not fail safe and not lose video. Because with DJI, when you lose video, you just return to home. Boop, it comes right back to you. That's not how FPV drones work, usually. So, if you start doing mountain cruising type stuff as your first FPV drone, you're going to end up leaving a quad on a mountain before too long. Most likely, odds are. And so you got to start, you know, you got to start with smaller stuff and figure out how it all works. That's what I would say. Anthony DeStefano, thank you for a $5 super chat. I know from personal experience, pine needle tea is the cure for your cough. Feel better soon. Appreciate the suggestion. I think bourbon is the key. Is the cure to my cough. Ha ha! Do you ever see FPV breaking the 48-volt mark? LJ Dud. LJ Dud, there was a really interesting discussion on Facebook, and I don't have a link to it, and I can't share it with you because it's long gone. I'll never find it again, unfortunately. But Ryan Harrell was chiming in, and Ryan knows as much about ESCs and motors as anybody in FPV, maybe more. And somebody had asked about why we don't use more high voltage stuff. Like, why do we just stop at 6S most of the time? And Ryan pointed out that once you get above about, say, 30 volt, I don't remember the cutoff he gave, but once you get above about 6S voltage, the performance of the FETs, for example, is much worse. You have higher resistance and slower response. That means that the FETs perform much worse for the kind of things multi-rotors ask them to do. And he made this long argument about why we don't see more and may not see more higher voltage setups, why 6S seems to be the ceiling, and you only go up to like 12S or 8S when you really need it. And it was interesting that you have more losses, more resistance in the FETs, and the FETs take longer to turn on and off, and so that affects the performance. And so I don't know if, like, somewhere out there's a really low resistance, really high speed FET that's good for 48 volts, or if there's some fundamental thing about the manufacturing that makes them not good for that. But his argument was that the 6S limit that we see is not arbitrary, that the components that go into mostly our ESCs, it's difficult to make them work at higher voltages and work well, and there's a strong incentive to stay at that 6S limit. Frodo, thank you for $5. Mike Bergman, this was like last week, for what it's worth. I don't remember where it was, though. Frodo, thank you for a $5 super chat. Really enjoying Flowstate on DVD. I think it will be an excellent snapshot in the time of FPV before remote ID. Glad you're enjoying it, Frodo. By the way, do you guys... I told you guys a while back that you could watch Flowstate on Plex.tv. It is free. It's ad-supported. We're still waiting. Amazon! We're still waiting for Amazon to finish it. Apparently, once Amazon accepts it, it can take anywhere from 2 Took 12 weeks for it to actually make it onto their platform. Is today the day? It's not. Nope, it's not. God dang it. So we're still waiting for Amazon. The guy said if it gets to 12 weeks, then we'll call them and we'll ask what the hell's up. But some people had noted that Flowstate, well, they tried to watch it on Plex, and they got this error message. Cannot play. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Now it's kind of trying to play. Hang on, let me try again. Yeah, they get this error message. And I was like, what's going on, Plex? And then I realized, if you're getting this message, it's because you have an ad blocker. It's because you have an ad blocker. I was right here. Turn off any ad blockers and try again. And I'm sitting there going, Plex, why won't you play? What's wrong with you, Plex? And then I realized, I have an ad blocker. And then I turned off my ad blocker and it worked. So I don't know what your problem. Try it in an incognito window. Try a different browser. But this is why I'm getting this error message. Once I turn this off. Oh, look, it works. There it is. Woo. And some ads. So it could be working now. Right now, that is the main place you can watch it. Prime. It's coming on Amazon Prime for rental with no commercials. But that's where we're at right now. If you can't get it to work, try an incognito window or try a different browser, I would say. The search doesn't seem to work. Yeah, I noticed that too. There's the link. Okay. Flowstate is not an ad, Jeremy Sarge. Flowstate is available on Plex.tv, which is an ad-supported free platform. Anyway. Can't wait to share it with you guys on Amazon as soon as Amazon makes it work. All right. Let's see. What else have we got, folks? Hugo Garcia, good to see you, my friend. New pilot here. I ran into your channel looking for helpful tips. I've been watching a ton of your vids. Thanks for the content. Thank you, Hugo Garcia. Good to see you. Welcome here. Glad to have you as a viewer. CCAT Metalworks wants to know, can using 2750 kV motors on 6S fry the 5-volt circuit on the flight controller? I mean, I guess it's possible. That's going to generate a ton of electrical noise. It's more likely to fry the ESC. I don't see how it would fry the 5-volt circuit, but I guess it's possible. I don't know. It could just be a coincidence. That's quite a high kV for 6S. You're going to have a lot of electrical noise. Other things could happen. People are telling me that the search doesn't work. Is that true? Okay, wait. Now I gotta turn off my ad blocker. Okay. Now will it work? Okay. That doesn't work. What if I sign in? How about now? Awesome. The flip. The flip. Eh. What about anything? Rakuten. Oh, great. Thank you. Hey! That ain't right. Why would we not show up in search? Stupid. Stupid. Oh, shut up. Alrighty. Click on Plex in the upper left and search. Really? Is that going to work? Open Plex. Oh. Oh. No, thank you. Aha! Ah, baby. Thank you. Now that works. Cool. Hey! Directed by, written by, where's the executive producer credit? I feel like the executive producer credit is just, first of all, 5 stars. I feel like that is just as important as the director and the writer. Damn it. Hey, Bubby FPV. What's up, man? Bubby FPV. Bubby. Bubby. Bubby FPV. Bubby FPV. What are you my ears are burning, Bubby. My ears are burning. Why are my ears burning? Somebody been talking about me. I trust what real pilots say over what bench testing people say. I'm a bench testing person. Is that what you're saying? You calling me a bench testing person? I'm not a real pilot. Oh. Rocky B's got my back here. What you're saying is JB isn't a real pilot. Bubby's like, what I mean is hardcore freestyle pilots who are actually pushing the system in real world environments. Okay. I have not pushed the system in real world environments. You and I were both in Portland, Bubby, together. We both pushed the system in Portland in the same real world environment. It's true. Bubby's taking it to like parking garages and stuff. It's true. Bubby is actually flying it on a daily basis. And I'm like, yeah, DJI is still better. That's true. Those are real pilots. Just real pilots like Bubby, Cricket, and Drip. Hey, you think Vanover's a real pilot? Would you call Vanover a bench testing person? Pretty sure he still flies DJI. My goodness. Kids these days. 9:45. We got about 15 minutes left in the stream. Folks, we got 15 minutes left in the stream. Let's get some more questions. Let's get some more questions. Oh, Raven 187. Raven 187 says we can't all endanger the public flying open props at an airport. I saw that video. Bubby and Drib flew the Mosquito indoors at an airport around people. It's a freaking Mosquito. That's nothing. I knew people would get butthurt about that video. It was not in any way a problem. Like, oh my goodness, you might have theoretically snagged someone's hair. Bubby's got this. He's a pro. He knew what he was doing. It was a non-issue. Of all the things you might want to criticize about, I knew people would get up. You don't need Lance clearance when flying indoors. It's not Sam. You know that. He was flying indoors. The fact that he was in an airport is irrelevant. The FAA doesn't matter. I thought it was great flying. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really eye-opening when Drib took the quad and he flew it so much worse than Bubby, which proves that Bubby is like, it's not just the quad. He knows what he's doing. Thank you, Blizzard FPV, for 420 Canadian. 420 people watching. Yeah. Can you speak more to racing? Asks Dingles. It's just too cool and needs more exposure. Yeah, racing's cool. I make videos about what I do, and I didn't do a lot of racing this year. So, this is what it is. Are you at all curious about the Foxair 2.5 watt analog VTX? Asks Bitterroot FPV. Yes, it's got I mean, we're going to test it, right? We're going to test it. We're going to see what its output power is, and we're going to range test it. That could be the go-to VTX if you want just raw power. It's extremely exciting. Jay Barnes FPV says, I followed the video about getting LQ and RSSI into the DJI OSD. I've done it twice now. Activated the stuff in the OSD tab, made sure analog RSSI is off. Craft name is blank, but it still just shows craft name in my OSD. Jay Barnes, which video are you following? There's a newer video that might be better for you to follow. So Jay Barnes, the video you want to follow is this one. Finally, proper LQ and RSSI, DBM and DJI OSD. It's this one. That's the one you want. Because on that firmware, you don't need to like disable this and enable that. It just works. Project Charlie, thank you for $5 super chat. Jay Barnes, both of them have a hex file to download, but it's a different hex file. Project Charlie, thank you for a $5 super chat. I have two old O2 Air units. I just lost my V2 goggles. Should I take the chance and get the Goggle 2? Will support the old units, or should I get the V2? Project Charlie, DJI is dangling hints that the new goggle might support the old Air units, but how can you know? Like, you can't hold your breath for DJI to do something. If you need goggles today, buy the V2 goggles today. You don't know if ever they will do that. And somebody showed me an email from a customer support rep who said, yes, definitely, we will support it. And he was like, see, it's a done deal. And I'm like, sure it is. The fact that a DJI customer support rep tells you it's a done deal means nothing. They don't know. They don't know. Do you remember when people were trying to find out how much it cost to replace a GoPro Hero Bones under GoPro's replacement policy? And they were getting different answers from different reps? They don't know. Now, that was GoPro. This is DJI. They're different companies. My point is that the DJI reps don't... If you ask them, I need to claim a warranty on my product, they know how to deal with that. That's what they do all day. If you ask them, is DJI going to implement this new feature or some other question about the roadmap, they don't know. And the problem is that they will say, I asked my supervisor and he said X, and that's probably true. Guess what? I'm going to go ask my supervisor whether it's going to rain tomorrow, and he's going to tell me it is or it isn't. It doesn't mean he's right. The actual people who make the decisions at DJI, my impression is that they are so far removed from the people who are public-facing that the public-facing people might as well just be talking completely out their ass. Some of them will say, oh, we're going to gauge community response, and if there's a good community response, then we'll implement this feature. And then people go like, oh, let's sign a petition. It doesn't matter. It doesn't... Maybe they are gauging community response. It doesn't matter, because that's not going to be what drives the decision. The actual decisions that they make are driven by things that are completely opaque to you and me. And the problem is that they should say, I don't know, maybe, we don't know. But then half of them say, yes, we will. And half of them say, maybe we will. And who knows? You can't wait for it. You can't hold your breath. You can't say, I'm not going to buy goggles today because maybe they'll have backwards compatibility. Maybe they will. But if you need goggles today, there is no point in waiting even a week to see if they change their mind and come out with it. Buy what you need today. If something becomes available tomorrow, buy that instead. But do not wait. Do not wait until it's a done deal. When DJI says, I'm going to release a new product and it's going to be on such and such a day, they tend to hit those dates. That kind of thing is predictable for them. But when they say, we're going to add this new feature that you really want, they may never do it. You just don't know. Campbell Gray, thank you for $8 Australian. I have done the root hack on my DJI goggles. It's pretty cool, and I do have a video made. The WTF OS team says there are still some bugs that they're trying to fix, and they want me to wait to release the video until they fix the bugs so that they don't get a bunch of frustrated people experiencing bugs. So whenever they fix those bugs, I'll release the video. Isaiah Newman asks, thank you for a $5 super chat. Isaiah, how do I set angle mode to come on with the V-Fly cam switcher setup from the transmitter, Jumper T-Lite or FlySky X6? How do you set angle mode to come on with the V-Fly cam switcher? So basically, Isaiah, I don't 100% understand what you're asking me, but basically you need an aux mode that's tied to the same switch that your cam switcher is set to. There's some details here that we're missing, Isaiah. If you want to email me, joshuabardwell@gmail.com, we can discuss it in more depth. Basically, you just need the aux mode for angle mode to be tied to the same switch that the cam switcher is tied to, and then you set it up so that when the cam switcher switches, angle mode activates based on that same switch. Hopefully that's helpful at least. Mike Bergman says, like, 3,000 people have signed the petition so far. Is that 3,000 sets of goggles they won't sell? No. Here's the thing that I don't understand, folks. If DJI made the goggles have backwards compatibility, you would buy the new goggles and sell your V2 goggles. If DJI doesn't make the goggles have backwards compatibility, a lot of you are going to buy the new goggles anyway and keep your old goggles. Which of those two scenarios is better for DJI? Because I have a feeling that DJI is already going to sell as many goggles as they can in the drone kit. What's their motivation to sell you the goggles alone when they could sell you the goggles and the drone and the motion controller? By the way, somebody else pointed this out. Do you guys think that the motion... Why does it come with the motion controller? It's because no one bought the motion controller. It's brilliant. They came out with a motion controller for the DJI FPV drone. Nobody bought it. And they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to release the Avata, and we're only going to sell it with the motion controller. Ah! Boom. Sold all those motion controllers. So. The only motivation that DJI would have to give the new goggles backwards compatibility is that it's what's good for their customers. It is not what's best for their bottom line. Right? I mean, I'm not like looking at their books, but it is better for their bottom line to force everybody who wants to use the new Air unit to buy the new goggles. Except, aren't the old goggles also compatible with the new Air unit? Why'd they do that? I don't know. See, that's why this kind of like off-the-cuff analysis is always wrong on some level. And I know that. Because if they really just wanted to screw their customers and make as much money as possible, they wouldn't have made the old goggles forward compatible. So why did they do that? Well, what if they couldn't source a large number of the OLED panels? I don't know, I'm just making this up. What if they couldn't make as many of the new goggles as they wanted? And they thought, oh my God, we're going to lose out on sales. We're going to be out of stock. And they were like, I know. Well, make the old goggles be compatible so people can use the old goggles and still buy the new drone. I don't know, I just made that up. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. It's worth pointing out. Nah, I take that back. Never mind. I was going to say, is there some technical requirement that would have made it hard to make the new goggles backwards compatible? I mean, the V2 goggles support the O3 Air unit, or the O2, support the DJI FPV drone mode, basically, and the old mode. They just reboot into a different firmware. I don't know why they couldn't do that with the new system, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. Anyway, we don't know what's going to happen. But don't hold your breath is my advice. We're coming up on the end of the stream. Is Ciati streaming tonight, guys? Is he streaming after me? He was here earlier. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you for all the donations. Thanks for your support as a viewer and a patron. I will see you throughout the week. Ciati is streaming, so post a link for that. But I'm going to be getting out of here, and I will see you tomorrow for the news, everybody. That's going to do it, though. That is going to do it for me. Have a good night, everybody.